my name's Amy and welcome back to my NaNoWriMo weekly vlogs. So somehow, what feels like against all the odds this year, we have reached week 4 of NaNoWriMo. I didn't do a full weekly vlog last week, I just filmed my reset day, which you might have already seen. So I wanted to just quickly go over a few numbers before we get into the main topic of this vlog. Basically, I have had a really successful NaNoWriMo and we'll talk more about why that is later in this video. But we're now at day 26 and to complete NaNoWriMo on time, I only have to write about 1,000 words a day to finish up the month. I have never ever been so far ahead so consistently in NaNoWriMo. There's definitely a tendency right now to rush ahead, try and power through those last few thousand words and finish quickly, but I'm not going to do that. In previous NaNoWriMos, I've definitely felt quite burnt out by the end of the month. I think a lot of people experience this. They write really hard throughout November and then in December just fall apart. I don't want to do that this year though. I've got lots of other work to be getting on with in December. I've got a book that is half edited that I really want to get published by the end of January. So December is going to be pretty busy, which means I want to finish November and NaNoWriMo as gently as possible. So I'm going to be sticking to that 1,000 words a day pretty much until the end of the month. I will then still finish NaNoWriMo right on time and I will hopefully not be feeling burnt out at the end of the month. One slight disappointment though is that I don't think I'm going to be finishing Echo State. This was always my main project for NaNoWriMo. I have of course been working on 2 books during November and a couple of other smaller things have also contributed to my word count. But Echo State was always the main project and I really wanted to get the draft finished this month. To be honest, I thought it was going to be done by the halfway mark of the month, but that is simply not what has happened. Essentially, the draft has just got longer and longer and longer. I thought it might be finished at maybe the 90 to 95,000 word mark. Instead, it crept up to 100k. It's now crept up again to 105k. I've probably got at least 5,000 words left to go and it could be closer to 10. I'm just following my outline at this point and I think it's a pretty strong outline. I think it's going to wrap the book up nicely, but it's taking a lot more words to tell this story than I'd planned. So I am a bit disappointed that Echo State won't be done because I absolutely wanted it wrapped up in November. That really was my biggest goal for NaNoWriMo. But I am faced with a situation where I am going to have written 50,000 words and still not finished the draft. At this point, there's not a lot I can do about that without risking burnout, so it's just going to have to stay as it is. It will get finished as soon as I can finish it, but it may not be this month. Now that we are getting right towards the end of NaNoWriMo, I wanted to talk about some of the things I have learned this month. Nano for me is not just an opportunity to write a lot of words and be really productive. It's also a great chance to push myself a bit and to try different things and see how they work out. So I have got a list of 5 things that NaNoWriMo 2020 has taught me. Number 1 is definitely that multiple projects work for me. This is something I have been thinking about for a long time. Many times in my writing career, I have tried to confine myself to a single project at once, whether that's editing or drafting or getting a book ready for publication. And in some ways that does make the single project that I'm working on go faster. But in other ways, I am not being as overall productive as I could be. Working on 2 projects through NaNoWriMo has really shown me how true this is. I've ended up splitting my word count fairly evenly between 2 books, and I have found it so much easier to write more this month than I have in any other NaNoWriMo before. Because I'm being productive on multiple projects, the creativity kind of feeds into itself. I'm more enthusiastic about my writing as a whole, I get more done, I never feel burnt out on any one particular project, and so the creativity just keeps on spiraling, which is making me think that I need to continue this kind of low-level drafting all the time. Even when I'm editing or really focusing on a different book, it's useful for me to have something to just play around with in the background. Maybe just write 300 words of it every day. Yes, it's going to take a long time to finish a draft, writing 300 words a day, but that isn't really the point. This is about kind of feeding my creativity and keeping it bubbling over all the time. And multiple projects do the best job of that for me. This does potentially impact my work schedule over the next year or so. Writing books in the background means that the drafts are definitely going to get finished slower. And of course, working on multiple projects at once slows down each individual story. But I think this is just a healthy, productive way for me to work. It's when I feel my best. So I need to take account of that when I am scheduling how long it's going to take me to finish each book. I haven't yet completely decided how this is going to affect my schedule over the next couple of years, but I definitely think it's going to change things. Although there is one caveat to this. I tried to write multiple books in the NaNoWriMo of 2018 and it was a dismal failure. The problem there though was that I did not plan them out in advance. I had one book set up and ready to go. I wrote that for about 2 weeks and then I decided I was going to do something else. The problem is that something else was not planned out. I'd literally had the idea just a few days before, and so I very quickly lost momentum. So this is a case of multiple projects, but they have to be decided in advance and also planned and scheduled in advance. Lesson number 2 is that I actually draft really well in the evenings. I have always considered myself a morning writer. And I think I do still work best in the morning when I get the chance. Whenever possible, I do try to start my day with some writing because I feel that sets me up really well for the rest of the day. But one of the things about having a small child is that most of my time to myself comes in the evening after she has gone to bed. And I've actually had quite a lot of success this month with drafting at night. Now, I don't think I can edit much at night. That seems to take a more analytical part of my brain that is pretty much shut off by 6 or 7 p.m. But drafting is okay. I'm finding that I'm still quite creative with drafting in the evenings. I write reasonably quickly and I don't feel tired and burnt out. And again, this is something I'm going to be taking into account when I schedule what I work on. It's possibly going to mean that if I do have drafting work to do, I'm going to push it towards the end of the day so I can do other things during the day. This is definitely not how I've worked before because, like I said, I've always thought of myself as a morning writer. But I think this could be quite useful long term. Lesson number 3 is that I do not need external rewards when I'm writing, but accountability does help. Now, I know it's pretty common during NaNoWriMo to set yourself rewards for when you've reached a 10,000, 20,000, whatever milestone in your draft. I have never done this. I said to my partner a couple of weeks ago that I think finishing the book is the best reward for me. I have never felt the need to write towards giving myself some kind of physical gift. Having said that, there is a level of accountability about NaNoWriMo that is really useful. Without that accountability, it is quite easy for me to switch gears too quickly. As soon as something becomes difficult, a story is not going the way I want it to, I just scrap it or put it aside and move on to something else. Knowing that I really do want to finish NaNoWriMo though, and that people can follow my progress if they want to, makes a big difference. I don't quite know how I'm going to take advantage of this in the future. I've used other word tracking programs and websites in the past, which are open to the public in some cases, but they never spur me on in the way that NaNoWriMo does, because I can always just change the dates and targets if I need to. Because NaNoWriMo's goals are set by someone else, I feel like I really need to meet them. So I don't yet know how I'm going to set myself up with more accountability in the future. It might be as simple as talking about my goals more on YouTube or on Instagram. It might be telling a friend or my partner what I want to get done every month, or it might be using some more tracking websites. I haven't yet decided. But accountability does work, and I need to take advantage of that. And my last lesson is that I definitely need to keep up with physical activity when I'm writing a lot. One of the goals I set for myself at the start of November was to try and do yoga nearly every day in November. I've been doing it something like 5 times a week since the start of November, and it has been absolutely fantastic. I am very much a yoga novice. I've been doing it for maybe 4 or 5 years, but I do it sporadically and I can easily go 6 months without getting out my mat at all. But I have suffered from consistent neck, arm and hand problems for over a decade now. And it does get worse when I'm using a computer more. So this month, really committing to doing the yoga and doing lots of walking has been really helpful. I'm actually finding that my RSI in my right arm is in a better place now than it was before NaNoWriMo started. I've really managed to get rid of a lot of pain and stiffness that had been bothering me, and I'm really putting that all down to the yoga. So that's one habit I absolutely need to keep up with. So those are all the things I have learned from NaNoWriMo this year. We've still got a few days left of the month to go. I have not reached 50k just yet. So I will probably update you next when I've reached my target. It's now the afternoon of the 30th of November, which means it is the last day of NaNoWriMo. I just wanted to jump in here and do a bit of a wrap up just to give you my final numbers for the month and tell you what my plans are next. So I actually reached 50,000 words yesterday on the 29th. And I've done a little bit more writing today, which means I am finishing the month at just over 52,000 words. One big thing to note is that I have not finished Echo State. I suspected this was going to happen, and it has. The book is now sitting at 106,000 words. I could easily have another 6 or 7 to go. I kind of feel like this is just the first draft that will not die. I really did not expect it to get this long, which means that I'm going to be spending the first week of December continuing to write this book. I would really like it done within a week, but I don't know if I'm going to make that happen. I'm also going to be working on a short story called The Bone Roads. I mentioned this in some earlier vlogs and said I was going to write it during NaNoWriMo. It's another thing that I did make some progress on, but didn't finish, which really seems to be the theme for my NaNoWriMo this year. So those are my 2 big projects for the coming week. I've got editing work to get back to later in the month, but I really just want to wrap up some drafts at this point. Honestly, right now, it feels to me as though NaNoWriMo has not finished, because I'm going to be drafting the exact same things for at least the next week or so. I will not be writing to such a strict word count. I'm going to take a little bit more time off, but I really want to get these stories done. And a final word on Mythic War. I have really enjoyed writing this story. It has propelled me through Nano when I was struggling on Echo State. I talked in previous vlogs about lots of issues I was having with the book. I think I've mostly solved those. I have moved some chapters around and I'm much happier with the structure of the first 30,000 words of the book. I've got a huge amount more work to do on it, of course, but I will say that I'm a little bit disappointed to not be working on it in the first week of December, because I am just having so much fun writing it and I can't wait to get back to that one. But that is where I'm going to wrap up this final NaNoWriMo vlog. I hope your Nano experience was a good one this year, whether you only wrote a few thousand words or whether you completely surpassed the target. I've seen a few people on AuthorTube get more like 70 or 80,000 words this month. So congratulations to you guys. This was definitely one of the more productive and enjoyable nanos I've done in a really long time. Honestly, there was a period when I thought I was never going to do NaNoWriMo again, but this month changed my mind. I had a really great time. And whatever progress you made, it is still progress. I hope you had a great time too. I will be back during December with some more writing vlogs and probably some reading vlogs because I definitely want to get back into reading now I've got a bit more time. You'll be seeing those very soon, but in the meantime, keep writing everyone, and I'll see you next time.